who are hell-bent on dragging down evolution.
And intelligent design, you referring to the idea that the world and certain features of it, like eyeballs and very sophisticated things like the brain, are so complex that they couldn't have arisen by chance. They must have been intelligently designed, some intelligent design. But some people say that's a public relations way of sliding by the idea that what you're really arguing for is that God must have done everything. You refer to intelligent design as a way of sliding God in, but doing it in a slightly more subtle manner. Right. Okay, well, let's come back to that. Let's take some more questions, because they're very interesting. There's a chap there at the back with his hand up.
Funny enough, in this new age, they always seem to me because of science. And that quite baffled me, because I like to believe that I came to Islam because of it was rational. Now, maybe I would like to pose a question to all the panel, especially to Salim Fredericks. What is the difference between the scientific method of study and the rational or the thinking method, if you like to put it that way? And just further, there's one more question. Science, can you agree that science doesn't apply to every field? It has a scope and it has a domain, so it cannot be, for example, something that transcends all other types of thinking. For example, the hypothesis, for example, what is the impact of the Arabic language on pre-Islamic Arabia? I mean, rationally, for you to do that, you have to go back in time, which we can't, and we have to split the two groups of societies, which we can't do either. So, from a scientific point of view, you just can't analyze it. You have to use a rational method of thinking. And that's it, thanks.
I think that the scientific method, you can start by, it's just a scientific method that goes on indefinitely. So let's suppose you start with making an observation, then a hypothesis, and then deductions from that, and then experiment, and then seeing if it works, and then further observations and further hypotheses. This process goes on throughout the scientific world. It's open to anybody to make their contribution to it. And the process is self-correcting. Many false theories have been believed. One can think of caloric and phlogiston in physics and chemistry. The Earth is the centre of the universe, all kinds of false theories. But the method is self-correcting, and I believe it's the only method for obtaining truth that Alistair spoke of as his objective too. The question of whether scientists have faith, someone here said they did. I don't believe that they have to have faith in the sense of believing something without evidence. If you have evidence for your beliefs, that is reasonable, and I prefer to use the term faith where there is no particular evidence at all, you just nevertheless believe it. A scientist should always be prepared to discard his theory if evidence falsifies it. And the method of falsifying things is something which doesn't obtain in religion. That is to say, you can believe that God made mountains with deep roots so they didn't move. That's something I read in an Islamic book justifying the premonition, if you like. Well, how could it possibly be that Muhammad could have said that unless it was dictated to him by God? But I hope I'm not being too controversial here. But we know that in Pakistan a few months ago there was an earthquake. They do exist. They do kill thousands of people. But this will not count as falsification of the statement that the mountains were put there so that they wouldn't cause earthquakes. So, in other words, people will go on believing in the religion in spite of any contrary evidence.
Okay, but before we go back to the audience, anyone else in the panel want to comment on intelligent design? There was a question about that.
Yeah, I'm happy to make a comment. You characterised intelligent design in some very colourful language, and I think actually most of what you said is correct. It is something concocted by creationists, supported by neoconservatives in the southern part of the United States, and it is an attempt to get religion back into schools because creation itself can't be taught. And I think the recent court judgment in the United States, where the judges did look very carefully to ascertain whether or not intelligent design could be considered a science and thus be considered